Alright boys, welcome back to the BBR. Today we are playing D-Ray, the commissioner of the league, who you can check out in the top right hand corner. And man, oh man, have me and this man now shared some memories. We met up in LA and we shared a sandwich together. And boys, it was the best sandwich I've ever had in my entire life. And it's gonna hurt a little bit, it's gonna hurt my heart just a little bit to do what we're about to do to D-Ray, but somebody's gotta do it. We moved on from last week. We're 2-1. We're forgetting about it. It is in the back of my mind. We're going to move forward. We're going to end 7-1 on the season. We've got some easy games on the schedule like Obo and Keegan coming up, so should be no problem, but we got to focus on this week. Our team on screen, we made no transactions this week. We did last week and we did next week. Next week, we do not have awful Arachnid anymore, and instead we have Quillfish. Arachnid is so bad to the point that I do not even look at it in these matchups. That is how poor it is. It is so unbelievably bad in the calcs. Maybe it's better in play. I don't know. I like him with Terra. I don't like him without Terra. He's gone. Instead of Arachnid, we got Quillfish, and I think that's super funny. Quillfish is our water type. We will now have extra points. I have never had a team that has not had all points used. Maybe a team that has not had 1 point used, but especially not 110 points. Crazy. And we also have Big Man and Little Man now, so I'm excited for that. D-Ray's team, throw it on screen, Sunny, Gholdengo, Hammerot, Ogerpon Hearthflame, Alolan Ninetales, Haxorus, Mesprit, Tentacruel, Rabombi, Hitmontop, and Sandaconda. I believe he also made some transactions going into this game, so we got to prep for the new team. And the new team is a little better into us. I'm not like saying he C-teamed us or anything, because I don't think he did. Ogerpon does crazy into us, and other than that, it's a pretty good matchup for us, I will not lie. Out of the things that I think he's going to be bringing, Ogerpon first and foremost is the best Pokemon on his team, undoubtedly. I think Gholdengo is going to come, and I think it's going to be Colbert guaranteed. I think Hammerot is going to come. I'm not quite sure on the set. I'm not super confident in the set. And for transparency, we're playing on Tuesday, so I haven't looked at this matchup in a couple days. So my apologies if this isn't as in-depth as my other team builders. And then Alolan Ninetales. I think those four are guaranteed going to come. Aurora Veil is just so good into my team because I have very few ways to remove it. Scizor is my only defogger, and my only way to remove it otherwise is like Brick Break, Annihilate, or Scizor, or Weavile, so Gholdengo is a pretty easy switch in. The last two slots are way more up in the air. I think the only Pokemon that does not come is Sandaconda. I would be shocked to see Rabombi as well, but I do see the merit in having webs, but at the same time I have a Defiant Annihilate, so I think it's a little silly if you do that, but hey, who am I to stop you? I think the main two Pokemon I'm worried about in this slot is number one, Haxorus. I think Haxorus is a really good matchup, specifically into the team we're bringing. And if Skarmory ever gets weakened, or I do not bring Skarmory, Haxorus goes really, really crazy. He could be Dragon Dance, he could be Life Orb, he could be Banded. There's a lot of different options. It's just a really good breaker here. First Impression also gives him something into the Weavile, so that's something to note. I believe the priority is higher than Ice Shard. I actually need to check that. I'm not entirely sure. And then the last slot, I think, is Mesprit or Hitmontop. One of those two. Tentacruel could come, but I don't really see it. I think it doesn't have the worst matchup, but I also don't think it really does anything here unless Latios in for free. Mesprit gives him potential rocks. It's also a psychic type that has fire coverage, so it's able to hit Scizor. Thunder Wave is really good in this game, and it gives him a switch into Latios. So I think Mesprit would make a lot of sense. But on the same vein, Hitmontop's a really good switch into the Weavile. You can be Intimidate, you can be Mach Punch. It gives him some options there. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Sandaconda, I don't really think comes into the specific team I am bringing. Does Sandaconda absolutely do me dirty? Yes. But I don't think that D-Ray is going to bring Sandaconda, so I'm kind of hard calling that improv. So moving on to the team, I'll be very transparent and say that originally we had to play early on a Thursday. We eventually had to extend, but because we had to play on a Thursday, it was a little bit of a rush team at first, and because of that, the concept does seem very rushed. However, I used it in mocks. I was actually very satisfied with how this plays out into D-Ray's team, so we ball. The first Pokemon we're going to be bringing is going to be Big Man. Big Man's very important. Big Man is the important piece here, all right? Let me cut it out. Big Man is the most important Pokemon on our team this week. We are Swords Dance and we are Agility with Intimidate. With Intimidate, Big Man can get both of these off very easily. He forces a switch on almost like 4 out of 6 of the Pokemon that D-Ray could potentially bring. He gets an Agility off, he gets a Swords Dance off. If he intimidates something, we can get a Swords Dance off in something's face, and then Crunch plus Gunk Shot hits everything on D-Ray's team for very, very good damage. The only things that we have to worry about, we have to get things a little bit chipped, like Haxorus has to be at like 78 or something to die to a neutral Gunk. I think it might be a little less than that, 68. So we want to kind of chip things down to get them in range of to where we don't have to Swords Dance. but we have the option to sword stance and we can pretty easily. So I like this set a lot. Cobra Gholdengo is something that we have to look out for, and this team actually does a pretty good job of breaking the Cobra on Gholdengo. So with that in mind, I think this set's really good, and we're also Lumberry for the potential Thunder Wave on Gholdengo, as well as Mesprit. This set does very, very well. I'm very excited to use this set. The speed lets us outspeed a Scarf Haxorus once we get to +2. We can live a +1 Ivy Cudgel from the Ogerpon after rocks, so a sword stance stuff, and then he obviously gets the Intimidate, and then we put the rest into Attack Adamant. And one thing I forgot to note that my notes tell me is that Lumberry is also for Stun Spore on Rabambi, so that's really cool. There are a lot of avenues to find an in-game where we win with big man, whether it be just getting the agility off or where we have to get agility and sword stance off. This Pokemon is the most important Pokemon on this team, and I don't think we will ever find another matchup where I can run Double Dance on my big man, so we're going to take advantage of it while we can. Our next Pokemon is going to be Latios. Latios is going to be, I know I do this all the time, Light Clay dual screens, Reflect Light Screen, try to get up into a position where big man can take the hits even better through screens, through Reflect, through Light Screen. We can take it even better through Intimidate. And then we're Draco and Shadow Ball to hit the Gholdengo just in case. And then Draco's pretty spammable into Fairy type, Alolan Ninetales, and Rabambi. We're Max Speed just to speed tie the Ogerpon, just to have a chance to attack it as well, or get a Reflect off maybe. And this Pokemon's not super important. Screens I found in the mocks were not like crucial to get big man off, but it was nice and it did guarantee the big man win. So if we can get this guy in a position where we can get that Reflector, get that Light Screen off, fantastic. He's faster than pretty much everything, and we can do that pretty easily. I know it's a lame Latios set. I tried to think of something to like make him an offensive breaker this week, but I just felt like this was a little bit better. Just chips all in on the big man. Next up, we're lead Sash Weavile, we're lead Taunt to taunt the Rabambi Webs, as well as the Alolan Ninetales Screen, more specifically the Alolan Ninetales Screen, because I do think lead Sash is very possible. I think lead Babiri Berry is very possible, and Weavile gets Metal Claw. So Babiri, I don't even know if it KOs without Babiri. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like, it's a pretty weak move. So taunting to prevent Aurora Veil, which otherwise puts a little bit of a damper in our plans, is very crucial. Ice Shard for priority on things like Ogerpon that has a Trailblaze up, or like Dragon Dance stuff Haxorus. Triple Axle was pretty free, and if we for some reason have our Sash intact after turn 1, a Sash Triple Axle into Ice Shard into the Ogerpon puts him in a really tough spot. And then Knockoff's pretty free, breaks the potential Colbur on Gholdengo, which is super important. We are very willing to sack this guy to break a Colbur on Gholdengo, to put big man in the primary position to win that. And we're max speed to outspeed the Rabambi. Super lame, I know. The next Pokemon is, we're going to be Skarmory, Rocky Helmet, Roost Spikes, Brave Bird, Body Press. This Pokemon is here specifically because Haxorus kept running me up in mocks. I had Annihilate over this. We're not bringing Spanky this week, but I felt like Haxorus just kept destroying me. So because of that, we threw on Skarmory. Roost for longevity, Spikes because his removal is super poor. Brave Bird and Body Press are just good into his team. Brave Bird to hit Ogerpon, which we actually take hits from pretty well. And the Body Press for things like the Samurai Hisui. I'm looking at it, I think I could have probably been Ironhead over Body Press, but you know what, we live, yeah, it's fine. I didn't write down what our EVs do. I'm gonna assume we got enough speed for some creeps, we got enough defense for it to matter, and then we got someone attack. I don't know. That's what we're gonna say. Next up, we've got AV Scizor. This is here to help with Gholdengo. It's not a check to Gholdengo because it actually does not beat Gholdengo. Gholdengo's bulky enough to recover off our knockoffs, but it's here to be a decoy. A check to Gholdengo because he'll want to stay in, right? Because he thinks he beats us, he can plot on us. We can knock off and then get a slow U-turn into Weavile or Big Man, or our last Pokemon that I'll talk about in a second, and beat the Gholdengo that way. Knockoff breaks the Colbur on that Pokemon. It is super important to do so. Bullet Punch gives us some assurance against some things on top of Ice Shard like Haxorus. It gives us a way to hit the Alolan Ninetales, and the Quick Attack gives us some assurance into the Ogerpon. I believe it does about a fourth, but a fourth might be all we need when it comes down to it. And then U-turn for momentum, pretty easy. If turn 1 we taunt and the Alolan Ninetales clicks Aurora Veil, we go Scizor and we click Knockoff, potentially baiting in, Gholdengo. We can knock off the Colbur immediately, and then we get that slow U-turn off, and then we go into our last Pokemon, which I was going to do a cool segue into, but I forgot to talk about the EVs here. We can live 2 Modest Gholdengo Shadow Balls, we live 2 Hammer Out Razor Shells, and then we live the rest into attack. There was no speed that I really wanted to hit here. I wanted to be slow in case he was, I don't know, like a slow Gholdengo. Like, I wanted to be slow. I want to get the slow U-turn off. I think it's very important. And so I can U-turn into my last Pokemon, Andy Shocks. Yay! Anti-Shocks is very, very good into D-Ray's team. There's very little that he can do about it. I've said that about a bunch of different guys, but specifically Anti-Shocks and Big Man, there's very little defensive counterplay. Stealth Rocks could be very important, especially because of that Ogre Pond. You have to remember it cannot run boots, so getting rocks up could be the difference maker. That's 25%, and then Quick Attack's 25%. That's 50 already, right there. You know what I mean? Dual Stabs is really good. Power Gym gives us a way to potentially OHKO the Ogre Pond, which is nice. I didn't really need a last move there. And then we're Booster Speed. It gives us some insurance against the Alolan Ninetales, the Ogre Pond. It just gives us it gets us in a good spot to click buttons. I believe our speed lets us outspeed the Haxorus. We have as much special attack as we can, still having Booster Speed. And then we went the rest into HP with a little bit in defense to be a rock friendly number of HP. It's not going to matter if we're a ground type, but I always do it because I have OCD, I guess. But that's going to be the team. We are trying to win with Big Man in the end game, and I think this is the team to do it. I think that we will never have an opportunity to try this again. Big Man just matches up so well into D-Ray's team. We're going to go out there. We're going to get that win. Thank you guys so much for watching. And for now, guys, this has been John Jr. signing off. That was a crisp clap. Sonny, did you get that? That was crisp.